Hey, welcome back to It's Just Gems. And earlier today, I did a video on Damar Hamlin's unfortunate incident at the game last night. He went through cardiac arrest on the field after hitting another player on the Bengals team. And Skip Bayless, who we all know as a FS1 host of the show Undisputed with Skip and Shannon, he tweeted and he got a lot of backlash. There are several players, NFL, NBA, current and former players, saying that he should be fired for the tweet that he put up. So Skip went to his show today and he had a response that I want to share with you guys, and then I'll follow up with my commentary I'm sharing based on fair use.
Allow me to say up front that I apologize for what we're going to set out to do here today if it offends anyone, because we're going to try to do the show pretty much as we usually do the show. But I'll admit up front, I'm still shook up by what happened last night to Damar Hamlin. In fact, I'm still wrecked. In fact, I'm not sure I'm capable of doing this show today. But after barely sleeping on it, I decided to give it a try. Maybe I'll fail. Maybe we will fail, but we're going to try. We wrestled through much of the night whether to even do a show today, because it felt like in our minds, we almost can't win with this, because the last thing we want to try to do is come off as insensitive to what this young man is going through in a life or death situation. The last thing we want to do is offend anyone by trying to do what we always do, which is talk about sports. As this show goes on, we're going to try to talk about a little bit of sports, but we're going to continue to talk about what happened to this young man last night and try to sort back through it with help from you and the audience. And we ask you now, if you'd like to tweet us your emotions of the night and of this morning about what happened to Damar Hamlin, please do so. You can tweet us at @Undisputed, and I will be sharing some of your tweets and your emotions as we share our experience of last night through this very difficult morning for all of us. Obviously, my partner Shannon Sharp is not here today. I look forward to seeing him tomorrow. But I would like to work back through what I went through last night as I watched this unfold. This was obviously, you could argue, the biggest Monday Night Football game of the year. It got off to a rip-roaring start. Joe Burrow goes right up the field and scores, and it's 7-0. Then Buffalo gets a field goal, and it's 7-3. And at about the 6-minute mark of the first quarter, as you well know, Joe Burrow completed a pass to T. Higgins, went for 13 yards, to the Buffalo 48. And Damar Hamlin made what at first would be pretty routine Higgins. And as you well know, Damar Hamlin bounced up from the tackle for just a moment. Then he teetered and he went down. This was pretty stunning, but we see so many injuries in the sport of football that obviously at that moment it didn't seem all that out of the ordinary until that happened. And before I go into that, let me put Damar Hamlin in some perspective for you. He's 24 years of age. He's out of McKeesport, Pennsylvania, went to Pitt, was drafted in the 6th round 2 drafts ago. So this is his second year. And the book on him was, coming out of Pitt, that he would probably just be an average backup player in the National Football League and a special teams player. And because of an injury to Micah Hyde, which took place in the second game of the year, Damar Hamlin got his opportunity in the National Football League, and he seized it, and he ran with it in ways he didn't run that great before he was drafted. He was 4.6 in the 40. But he took off. Maybe you weren't that aware of him, but he has played huge for the Buffalo Bills this year. He is second on the team in tackles, playing in the safety spot. And obviously, Buffalo is one of the best teams, if not the best team, in pro football, and was setting out at Cincinnati to prove just that. This was a great, huge stage for this young man. Reportedly, much of his family was there to support him. God bless them. And then that happened. Unprecedented happened. I have been covering this league. I've been writing about, commenting on this league for about 50 years. So I've been there and done all of that. I've seen it all. And trust me, I've never, ever seen anything like that happen. Before you knew it, an ambulance was on the field. Not just a stretcher, not just a cart, an ambulance. That's when you knew this was different. Reportedly, CPR was immediately administered because he suffered cardiac arrest. And now his teammates, and pretty soon also the Bengals, are gathered around looking into the face of a young man, age 24, who is literally fighting for his life. CPR. I don't want to speculate on what happened or why it happened or how it happened or what the situation was, because I don't know. I had my thoughts, but I don't know. Nobody knows yet exactly what transpired, what caused that to happen. But it happened. And those young men around that young man got shook way worse than I'm shook right now. And they were so shaken that they were unable to play football for the rest of that night, as you know. But this went on and on and on to the point where unprecedented turned into, oh my God, what has happened? In all my years, I've never seen anything like this, because obviously I've seen horrific injuries. I wasn't there the night that Darryl Stingley got paralyzed by Jack Tatum. It was a preseason game, August of 1978. But I was watching Monday Night Football when a guy who became a very good friend of mine, Joe Theismann, got his leg broken by Lawrence Taylor, compound fracture where the bone came through the skin. It was horrific. And the game stopped for a while, but the show must go on. And that was always the NFL's attitude is, next man up, the show must go on. Maybe we've had an awakening here because the show didn't go on last night for the first time in the history of this league. That a life and death situation took precedence over next man up football. So at that point, I had tweeted twice already. My first tweet ended with that I just said a prayer for Damar and his family. My second tweet was about so many horrific injuries, but this is very different, in all caps. And then came my third tweet, which I believe was widely misconstrued, misinterpreted. I don't follow what's happening on Twitter. I just tweet. but my boss here at Fox called and said, hey, people are really reacting strongly to your tweet. Maybe you should clarify, which I immediately did. But my first tweet was simply, as a journalist, I was putting myself in the heads of the NFL executives, starting with Roger Goodell, who are having to figure out on the fly what to do here. And I stated the glaringly obvious, which is that no doubt the NFL is considering postponing the rest of the game. This is right in the middle of the vortex of this situation, when it was unclear what they were going to do with the game. But I made the point that this late in the season, that with a game of this magnitude, it's very difficult to postpone it. Yet the end of my tweet was, all of which suddenly seems so irrelevant. For the first time in the history of the NFL, my point was, it was all rendered irrelevant by what was happening on the football field in front of all those football players, those gladiators, those warriors. They were shaken to their foundations. So I immediately didn't retweet, I just clarified. And I'll state it again. Nothing is more important than that young man's health. That was the point of my last tweet. I'm sorry if that was misunderstood, but his health is all that matters. Again, everything else is irrelevant. I prayed for him, and I will continue to pray for him. That's what I tweeted at the end of the night. I did pray for Damar and his family. Soon after it happened, and again before I went to sleep last night, this is our job, and we're going to try to do it the best we can do for you. But I do encourage you to tweet your emotions, your thoughts, so that we can have a shared experience. And I'll be reading them throughout our show today here on Undisputed. You can tweet us at Undisputed. Whatever's in your heart, whatever's in your soul, whatever's on your mind, let us know what you went through last night. Let us know how you feel this morning about what you witnessed last night on Monday Night Football. And we'll share it. Maybe we'll try to make a little bit of sense of it. So thank you for bearing with us. And Jen, I hand it back to you.
Well, that was Skip's lengthy response. It wasn't an apology or anything like that. It was more clarification. And he even had a little testy little attitude there when he was reading that final tweet about after he got the phone call from his boss telling him, hey, there's a firestorm going on Twitter. People are calling for you to be fired. So he took to give clarification. But again, he seemed like he had a little attitude about it, talking about, again, everything else is irrelevant. Okay, give us all of the syllables, Skip. So he didn't take too kindly, I guess, because people looked over in his tweet when he said it's all irrelevant. Though he gave a long, drawn out paragraph of why the game must go on, and then he just throws in the last line about, well, it's all irrelevant now, and he's expecting everybody to feel like your tweet wasn't inappropriate. And it's nothing wrong with him thinking that, because I'm sure other people even thought about it like, ooh, this is a pivotal time in the season, what are we gonna do about the game? And clearly these people can't play right now. And I'm sure people were thinking and trying to figure out, okay, what is the backup plan if they don't play? Everything doesn't need to be put on social media. He could have thought that and very well kept it in his mind, but let's keep the focus on this man's health. This young man, his family in the stands. I'm sure that mother was probably unconsolable at that point. The father too. But it's funny, he went through a range of emotions during this video. Skip started off all sad like, and how he could barely pull himself together to even come on there. They couldn't even decide at first whether they should have the show or not. And then it went into it's all irrelevant. Boy, I tell you, these folks. But let me know how you feel about it. And do you think it was forced? Do you think he really felt apologetic, or not apologetic because he didn't apologize, but did he feel sorry that his tweet was misunderstood? So that's like, well, I'm sorry if you was offended. That's how I kind of took that. Like, well, y'all misunderstood. I don't know how, but you did. Do you think that's cool? Let me know in the comment section. Make sure you hit the like button before you go, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And until next time, peace.